of your organization. And then we're also going to talk about also how to set up some subtotals, which is a feature that we do have in the donations module that I think maybe some people aren't aware of. And if they are aware of them, they might not be sure how to set them up and use them properly on the account balances report. So before we jump into the topic at hand, a couple things. For today's webinar, I'm following the Donations 101 book, specifically pages 22 through 33. So I can jump out to our website real quick at churchwindows.com, and you can purchase our workbooks out there. So under beginning down here, under training workbooks, you can bundle them, get a couple, but specifically today we're doing Donations 101. We're talking about giving accounts in the donations module, pages 22 through 33. So if you want to purchase the book, it's $12. You can download it, or you can get a binder ready version that we print and email to you. I believe that is $22. Let me look. Yep, right here. But of course, you don't have to. You can go out to our website and rewatch this webinar. It'll be available by end of week at no charge. All right. Also, we do have a place for you to ask questions. If you have any questions about the topic at hand, you can expand the questions section on your GoToWebinar toolbar. Josh is helping me out today to get those questions answered if I can't get to them while I'm presenting, or you can wait to ask at the end and I can or Josh will answer them for you then. So, giving accounts. Giving accounts have to be set up in the donations module before you can enter any giving or track any pledging. So, giving accounts are going to be set up based on the different areas people need to be able to give to with your organization. So, right here in the middle of our screen, you have this Manage Accounts jar. You can click on that to quickly glance at your giving accounts, or you can come up here to the top under Accounts and Pledges and get to the exact same screen here called Manage Accounts as well. I do want to start by opening this up just to give you an overview of the giving accounts that we have set up in here, just so you get an idea before we get into specifically. If you're new to Church Windows, you do have to go in and set these up. The account has to have an account name, which you see right here in this column. And you can use an ID. It can be numbers or letters. You aren't required to use any type of identification or ID for your giving account, but it is suggested that you do. Makes things a little easier. I like to use numbers as a way to organize my giving accounts. But you don't have to use those options, or you don't have to use the ID, but it is beneficial. Also, if you use our accounting module, the numbers do not have to correspond or exactly relate to the account numbers that you're using over on the accounting side. Some people like to go through and make those sync up when you transfer money from a giving account into the accounting module. But like I said, they don't have to be identical, but it might be handy if you want them to match. Also, if you're coming from the contributions module and you are converting to donations, or you have, those giving accounts are going to carry forward for you as well. All right, so moving on to page 23. Over here on the right within this giving account screen, you do have a detail tab and an accounting links tab. These tabs are where you go in and you set up your giving accounts to meet the specifications that are required of the account. So you can set it to print on a statement, you can make it tax deductible or not by unchecking that box, and you can also make it a pledgeable account or not, depending on what you need. Okay? So let's go in and actually practice adding an account. There's two places you can do it. You can do it directly from here on this screen. Let me grab my highlighter. By hitting this simple green plus to add a new account, or there's this red minus sign. You can use that as well to delete an account. Now, you can only delete a giving account in the donations module if there is or has been no activity on it, okay? If there was giving on it at one point that was later reversed off, you can't delete it, okay? So the only way you can delete the giving account is if no activity has been on it in any year. Okay, so the donations module doesn't have year breaks like the accounting module does. You don't create a new year in donations. It's just one continuous strand, if you will. So the program won't let you delete it if there's giving even from like 5 years ago. So keep that in mind. You can't delete, but there is this little inactive button here. By checking a giving account inactive, that will hide it from showing up on reports as being pledgeable or even as entering giving to it. So that's going to be your best option if you can't delete, because the program wants to safeguard and keep your history. Okay. So adding account, back to what I was saying at the beginning there, you can hit this green plus sign and add a giving account right from this manage account screen, or you can pop up to the top and you can hit the green plus sign up here to add a giving account as well. It's going to take you to the same place. It's really just personal preference of where you'd like to go. I like to come in here first and then hit the green plus sign. It also allows me to kind of scan through my list and make sure I don't already have an account that would work. But it also allows me too to see IDs. So if you do decide to use identifications for your giving accounts, this allows you to kind of scroll through and see what's available or what's been used. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the green plus sign here. And then from here, you have to tell it what ID you want if you use IDs. If you don't use IDs, you can skip right over it. I'm going to go ahead and just choose, a random number. Account name, you can call this whatever you like. We'll just call it like youth mission trip. And then down here below, if you hit this little down arrow, it's going to show you the detail. So this is similar to what you see on the screen behind on the detail tab per each account that you've already set up. But basically you need to decide the specifications for this new account you're making. Should this account print on the donation statement? It's up to you. Some accounts you might have a situation where you need to set them up and track money that goes to it, but does it need to print on a giving statement? If that's the case, you would uncheck this box. Giving is tax deductible. By default, this box is going to be checked as well, but you might have some money come in that you want to track, but it is not tax deductible. If that's the case, you can remove this check mark here, and when a donation statement prints, up in the top right hand corner, if you use our default windowed envelope, it's going to split it out right below the date range. It's going to show you the total for tax deductible giving, and it's going to show you the totals for non-tax deductible giving. So it is up to you if it needs to be checked or not. And then you also have this pledge account checkbox. In donations, you have the ability to enter pledges for people, or what people hope to give or are going to try to give to the church within a specific date range. If this is an account that people are going to be able to pledge to, you can leave that box checked and then go over to the right under default frequency, which is right here, and you can specify the default frequency that people can use. So if most people are going to pledge monthly to this account, you can select monthly in that box. And when you're entering the pledge and you choose this account, it's going to automatically go to monthly. You can of course change it. It doesn't have to be monthly, but this just helps you with a couple mouse clicks later on. Similarly, if this is an account that no one will ever be able to pledge to, you come in and simply uncheck that box. Comments. Don't have to put anything in here if you don't want to, but this is a place where you can kind of add some information about the giving account itself if you so wish. All right, then up here we also have accounting links. Now, if you don't use the accounting module, this isn't going to apply to you, but if you do use the accounting module, this is a great place for you to go in and actually link up your debits and your credits right here when you make the new account. Okay, if you don't, before you can transfer to accounting, you're going to have to plug them in anyways. The program's not going to send it over to some random places. You have to specify what's being debited and what's being credited. So your debit account is going to be that asset over in the accounting module that this money is going towards. Your credit account, it can be a liability, an income, or an expense. So you need to specify those. Also, your prepaid credit account, this last box here, this is optional. You don't have to put in anything here, but if you have people that prepay to this account, meaning they pledged and they give money to their pledge ahead of the start date, so say they give in 2016 for a 2017 pledge, you specify what liability account you want that money to be held in the accounting module. Then when you post giving to this account and send it over to accounting, it's going to automatically be posted in that prepaid liability account waiting for you for the next year to begin. Okay, so those are your accounting links tab. Now, once you have entered your account, if you're done adding it, you can hit Add Giving Account, and then come down here and hit OK or hit the X to close out of the screen. And now you see we have our new account listed behind us here. You can also come in here and change the ID and the account name right on this screen if that's something you need to do. So for example, maybe it should just say Youth Trip instead of Trips. If that's the case, you just double click right in that box and adjust the text to say whatever you want. Now keep in mind, because donations does not have new years, it's just a continuous line from year to year. If you change the name of an account, it is going to change that name since the beginning of you using the donations module. Okay, so in some cases it might be best to go in and just make a new giving account as opposed to completely changing the name. Same thing goes for the ID. If you go in and change the ID, it is going to always be changed. So if I were to go back and run a report on an account from 5 years ago and I change the ID, even though it's from 5 years ago, is going to reflect whatever the current ID and current account name is. Okay, so some situations it's going to be best to just make a brand new account and assign it a new ID. All right, couple different ways you can search for an account. If you don't have too terribly many, it's easy to just scroll through and find the one you need. Also, you can use the search box. Type in the number, it's going to jump right to it. Pretty straightforward there. Same thing, I can type in any part of the account name, hit enter, it's going to jump right down to it as well. Now, all of our screens too here in donations, you can click to sort by the column header itself. Okay, so by simply clicking the column header and clicking it again, I can adjust the sort from low to high or high to low. Same thing with our account name. If I want it sorted alphabetically, I click on my account name column header, and now I have alpha order A to B or Z and up. Okay, just some options there. I like it numerically for me personally, but it's up to you. What else do I want to show you? Down at the bottom left, I know we touched on making an account inactive. I'm on page 28 if anyone's following along in the workbook. But if you make an account inactive, it is going to in fact hide that account. If you want to see any of those past accounts that you've made inactive, down here at the bottom, you simply put a check mark in this Show Inactive box, and it's then going to include any of your inactive accounts. If you solely want to see inactive, remove the check mark next to Show Active, and then you'll see any old accounts that you no longer use. Pretty straightforward there. Okay, If you have any questions about giving accounts, feel free to type them in. We're going to move on to the order accounts section. So I'm going to close this, and we are going to jump up to the top here under order accounts. So order accounts comes into play when you are entering donations, okay? When you are using a manual distribution of entering donations, this is where you set the order you want your accounts to appear in. So as you enter a donation, you choose the giver, you enter the amount, payment method, check number, reference number, comments. Then you have to pick the giving account, where these people want their money to go to. Okay, so the order those counts are going to show up in that drop box is set here. Okay, under order accounts. So general fund, if that's your most popular, a lot of people are going to have a general or an operating fund giving account. That one can be up towards the top. Okay, say Christmas time is coming around. A lot of people are going to be giving to your Christmas fund. If that's the case, you can click and highlight your Christmas account, and using this big chunky up arrow over here on the right, jump it up in the list so it's higher. Okay, you can go in and customize this every Sunday if you want to. You probably don't need to, but if so, it's all available right here for you to change the order. Okay, you can check this box if you want new giving accounts to automatically pop in up at the top. You can sort by name if you want it just strictly alphabetical, or you can sort by number if you want it strictly numerical. But this is where you set that order for entering donations. This will help you get those donations inputted faster after offerings. All right, pretty basic screen, but I did want to point that out. The last thing we're going to talk about here is the subtotals section in donations. So that is up here under accounts and pledges as well, with a little gear just called subtotals. So we'll click on that. And this is what you will see the first time you come in here. You're going to have one subtotal set up. It's going to be called Total Giving Accounts. Okay? So under Total Giving Accounts, there's a little plus sign right to the left. Go out, grab my highlighter, make sure you see it. You can click this, and then it will show you any subtotals that have been set up. Okay, so this is part of our sample data. You might not have these, that's fine. But you see we have an annual, a holiday, an in and out giving, memorial, and other counts. So these are simply subtotals. Under these subtotals is where we go in and we put our giving accounts in the corresponding locations. Okay, so if I follow the directions here in the book on page 30, it shows us how to add a new subtotal. So it wants us to add a new subtotal called Total Rental Giving. To add a subtotal, I'm coming down here to the bottom left. I'm hitting Add New Subtotal. My cursor's automatically up here in my subtotal name. And I'm going to type in rental giving. And then I'm also going to check display as header, and then in here I just want to call it rental giving, and this is what's going to appear on the report. Once you get that entered in, if we look back over to the left, we now have a brand new subtotal line with our new subtotal that we've made. Okay. Now I want to hit this button down here at the bottom called Show Accounts. And this will then show us our giving accounts that we've created, what subtotals they're under, or if we need to move them to corresponding subtotals. So by hitting Show Accounts, I now see some of my giving accounts up here. So I can reorganize these into their specific subtotal. And then I also have, if I expand these sections, other subtotals that I've already made, and then the corresponding giving accounts that have already been added. Okay. Now keep in mind, if I hit Hide Accounts as well, I can expand and see that I have a subtotal within a subtotal. You don't have to do this. You don't even have to use the subtotal section if you don't want to. But you can get very specific about how your accounts appear on your account balances report. So for here, under my total annual giving subtotal, I have another subtotal called Total Building Fund Giving. Okay? It's an option. It's up to you if you want to get that specific about where you put your subtotals. All right, let's talk about moving our giving accounts and getting them in the right location. So I'm going to hit show accounts again, and then let's go ahead and let's move our loose offering subtotal. Let's go ahead and put that down under, let's see, total annual giving. This is the subtotal that I want to move my loose offering giving account to. There's two ways to move accounts. The easiest option, in my opinion, is to use this move box that is over here on the right. You can also do a drag and drop, but I think the move feature is a little easier for me. So I want to move loose offering to, and I want to put it under total annual giving, which is already popped up because that's my first subtotal. I hit move account. And now I look back over to the left, and now my loose offering is listed under my total annual giving subtotal. Okay. Similarly, if we move our facilities rental giving account, let's say I want to put that down under my total rental giving subtotal that we just made. If that's the case, click and hold, and you can do a drag and drop, and now it's listed under there. Okay. So that is how you set up your subtotals, and let me show you the report that all these subtotals are going to display on. That report is under Reports and Export, Lists and Labels, and List Account Balances. I'm going to run it just for January, and I'm going to hit Print. And as you can see now, we have our subtotals listed out. There's holiday giving, subtotal, building fund, subtotal, annual giving, subtotal, and so forth. So that's where those subtotals are going to take into account, is when you run the account balances report. All right. I went 2 minutes over. Sorry about that. I wanted to make sure I was clear about how the subtotals work. If you have any questions, please type them in the question section, and we will get an answer for you. If you don't have any questions and you got what you needed, feel free to leave the webinar. That's fine. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I will sit tight here for another minute or two to see if we have any questions come in that I can get answered. All right, looks like a lot of people are leaving, and I don't see any questions coming in. I am going to go ahead and close up the webinar. I hope you all learned something new today that'll help make your lives a little easier while working in church windows, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.